Hi, Vanessa. Welcome. Excuse me. Thank you for joining. Shout out to Vanessa. I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. How are you doing? I'm glad. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Write your name in the chat if you want me to shout you out. Excuse me. Hello, welcome. Shout out to Logan. Thank you for joining. Write your name in the chat if you want me to shout you out. Hello, welcome. Shout out to Denmark. Okay, there we go. My screen was Okay, there we go. My screen was frozen for a little bit. You're welcome. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Write your name in the chat if you want me to shout you out. Thank you. Thank you, Mira. I appreciate it. Hello, everyone. Write your name in the chat if you want me to shout you out. Shout out to Avery. Shout out to, is it Fidan? Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Vicky. Shout out to Shinobu. Hello. Shout out to Daphne. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Welcome. Shout out to Indra. Shout out to Evit. Shout out to Daisy. Shout out to hello, welcome. Write your name in the chat if you want me to shout you out. Shout out to Mirab. Shout out to Layla. Shout out to Julie L, sorry. Shout out to Jeshron. Shout out to Molly. Shout out to Jake. Shout out to Gara. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Chloe. Shout out to Rachel. Shout out to Heaven. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Thank you so much for being here. Also write your name if I haven't gotten to you yet. Shout out to Aubrey. Shout out to Shahad. Shout out to Olivia. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Kylie. Shout out to Carlin. Shout out to Ava. Shout out to Gianna. Shout out to G1. Shout out to Angel. Shout out to, thank you, Olivia. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Joyce. Shout out to Kosai. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Ford Tour. Shout out to Jonas. Shout out to Chuck. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Ladak. Shout out to Zoe. Shout out to Jovi. Shout out to Grady's. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Keishel. Excuse me. Shout out to Lori. Shout out to Jasmine. Write your name again if I haven't gotten to you. Shout out to Marwan. Shout out to Danny. Shout out to Sophia. Shout out to Aoife. Shout out to Brooke Davies Lou. Shout out to Mitsiki. Shout out to Flo. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to, oh, Aoife with an H. Aoife. There we go. Shout out to Madison. Shout out to Brooke. It's spelled with an E. Oh, like a, oh, okay. So shout out to Brooke. Davies. Like this, Brooke. Shout out to Patricia. Shout out to Irem. Shout out to, write your name in the chat if you want me to shout you out. Shout out to hi Madison, thank you for joining. Shout out to Sarah. Shout out to, write your name in the chat if you want me to shout you out. Shout out to Isosa. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to is it Bear With Us? Podcast. Shout out to Layla. Shout out to Naraya. Hi everyone, welcome. Thank you for joining. Shout out to Layla. Oh, Layla, I got you. Shout out to Naraya. Shout out to, thank you Ellie. Shout out to Ellie. Shout out to Josephine. Shout out to Ariel. Or Ariel, sorry. Shout out to Esosa. Shout out to Aline. Shout out to Freya. Shout out to Samantha. Shout out to Gospel. Shout out to Fatima. Shout out to Sophia. Shout out to Vanda. Shout out to Amelia. Shout out to Miguel. Write your name in the chat if you want me to shout you out. Shout out to Jaden. Shout out to Lily. Shout out to Lolo Fun Crafts. Shout out to Saeed. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Ali. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Mia. Shout out to Nalish. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Pearl. Thank you, Pearl, for subscribing. I'm so sorry if I didn't catch that. Shout out to Hajira, but I truly appreciate it, Pearl. Thank you. Shout out to Danya. Shout out to Allison. Shout out to Era. Shout out to Raquel. Shout out to Madeline. Shout out to Rehan. Shout out to Andy. Shout out to, yeah, I have birds. Sorry about that. They're making noise. Shout out to Andali. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Ella. Shout out to Nasra. Shout out to Asma. Shout out to Kadil. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Salish, and Nidal. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Giselle. Shout out to these people. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Thank you so much for being here. On to the next page. Write your name in the chat. If I haven't gotten to you, you might have to write it again. Shout out to Giselle, happy birthday. Shout out to, is it Junior? Shout out to Edu. Shout out to Afka. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Zyra. I know, I forget what kind of birds they are. They're like green and red. Shout out to Pandy. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Adam. Shout out to Mifra. Shout out to Pooja. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Olivia. Shout out to, that's the hand I write with. Shout out to Fatima. Shout out to Ellen. Shout out to Peyton. Shout out to Ryan. Shout out to Dalen. Yes, Ida. What did I say? Dalen? Shout out to Joyce. Shout out to Anna. Shout out to Rebecca. Shout out to Tatu. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Antoinette. Shout out to Dylan. Shout out to Murdoch. Shout out to Sata. Shout out to JC or Jace. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Sophia. Oh, thank you for letting me know, Ida. Yes, I'll cross it off. Shout out to Alba. Shout out to Abby. Shout out to Sky. Shout out to Emma. Give me a few seconds, I'm gonna go check on the birds. Thank you so much for your patience. Yeah, the birds wanted like a little treat. Sometimes I give them like little seeds, like sunflower seeds as an extra treat. Shout out to iDinner. Shout out to Faith. Shout out to Lucy. Shout out to Amelia. Whoops, I just noticed I put 2. Shout out to Elsa. Yes, Ida. Thank you for your support. Shout out to Malo. Shout out to Anna. Shout out to Kinley. Shout out to Alisa. Shout out to Yusuf. They're like medium size, I guess. Like they're not too small or too big. Shout out to Natalie. Shout out to Elena. Shout out to what was it? Amelia Kaylee Clark. Shout out to Amelia Kaylee Clark. Shout out to Savannah. Shout out to Jody. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Anais. Shout out to Lucy. Shout out to Trinity. Shout out to Kylie. Shout out to Serena. Shout out to Abigail. Should I do all of this blue or should I change the color? Because I noticed I messed up. I forgot to change the color. Shout out to Delilah. Shout out to Ira. Shout out to Obed. Shout out to Sydney. Shout out to Lilith. Shout out to Alexa. Shout out to Aaliyah. Shout out to Ella. Shout out to Sanam. Shout out to Pragati. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Victoria. Shout out to Paulina. Shout out to Ella. Shout out to Paulina with an A. Shout out to Laura. Shout out to Ava. Shout out to Amelie. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Colby. Thank you for your patience. The chat is going by kind of fast, so write your name again if I haven't gotten to you. Shout out to Kenzie. Shout out to Prudence. Shout out to Sydney. Thank you, Sydney, for your support. I truly appreciate it. Shout out to Isa. Shout out to Megan. Shout out to Carly. Shout out to Louise. Shout out to Lily. Shout out to Nanai. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Syra. Shout out to Hattie. Shout out to Brazil. Shout out to Minaj. Oops, I messed up. Shout out to Alice. Shout out to Skylar. Shout out to Emily. Shout out to Kennedy. Shout out to Aaliyah. Shout out to Rookie. Shout out to Alondra. Thank you for your patience. I know I'm not the fastest writer. Shout out to Hannah. Shout out to Joyce. Shout out to Daniela. Shout out to Nani. Shout out to Aubrey. Shout out to Autumn. Shout out to Manon. Shout out to Aubrey. Shout out to Ashley. You're welcome. Shout out to Nora. Shout out to Madison. Shout out to Steve. Shout out to these people. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Thank you so much for being here. On to the next page. Like and subscribe if you enjoy the shout outs. I also post other content. I hope you can check it out as well. Thank you so much for being here. I truly appreciate it. Thank you, Syra. Shout out to Sawyer. Shout out to Maria. Shout out to Lucy. Shout out to Marin. Shout out to Ian. Shout out to Sophia. Shout out to Charlotte. Shout out to McKenna. Shout out to Tim. Shout out to Ada. Shout out to Pinky and Ruhi. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Shayla. Shout out to Julia. Shout out to Nayab. Shout out to Olivia. Shout out to Kofa. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shakofa. Shout out to Tati. Shout out to Shahad. Shout out to Armandas. Shout out to Stella. Shout out to Carter. Shout out to Gabby's. Thank you so much for subscribing. Shout out to I got you, Shakofa, right here. Shout out to Ratil. Shout out to Gabby. Shout out to Paula. Shout out to Alice. Shout out to Hasnain. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Shakofa, I got you. You're right here. Shout out to Camila. Shout out to Lola. Shout out to Anna. Shout out to Lola. Shout out to Shakofa. Shout out to Mir. Shout out to Rama. You're welcome. Shout out to Mimi. Shout out to Isabella. Shout out to Michael. Shout out to Callie. Shout out to Brody. Shout out to Samiula. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Brooke. Shout out to Nina. Shout out to Omar. Shout out to Brooklyn. Shout out to Nora. Shout out to Manav. Shout out to Araya. Shout out to... You're welcome, Brooke. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Kat. Shout out to Sammy. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Thank you so much for being here. Shout out to Allie. Shout out to Stella. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Natalie. Shout out to Emma. Shout out to Arena. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Lola. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Thea. Shout out to Lily. Shout out to Malia. Shout out to Malia. Thank you for subscribing. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Soraya. Thank you for subscribing. I'm so sorry if I haven't gotten to your name, but thank you for your patience. Shout out to Irfan. Shout out to Mason. Shout out to Nolan. Shout out to Harvey. Shout out to Yamulet. Shout out to Gabby. Shout out to Emma. Shout out to Oriana. Shout out to Sophie. Shout out to Luna. Shout out to Dilzoda. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Olivia. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Shauna. Shout out to Anaya or Ania. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Nico. Shout out to Gracelyn. Shout out to Fran. Shout out to Leah. Shout out to Maisha. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Victoria. Shout out to Cash. Shout out to Cindy. Shout out to Linda. Shout out to Monisha. Shout out to Tolly. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Landry. Shout out to Marisol. Shout out to Maurice. Shout out to Joseph. Shout out to Isaiah. Shout out to Anna. Shout out to Christine. Shout out to Cristiano. Shout out to Valerie. Shout out to Savannah. Shout out to Amelia. Shout out to Nevea. Shout out to Amelia, I got you. Shout out to Molly. Shout out to Caitlin. Shout out to Cindy. Shout out to Irfan. I did. I wrote an A. That's an A. But maybe my writing's kind of messed up. But that's an A. Shout out to Bye Syra, thank you for being here. Shout out to Dre. Shout out to Ashley. Shout out to Lizzie. Shout out to Julia. Hi, Julia. Shout out to Elena. Shout out to Christine. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Julia. Oh, I got Julia. I got Lizzie too. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Thea. Shout out to Kaya. Shout out to Isa. Shout out to Nu. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Ada. Or Ada. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Liz. Shout out to Piper. Shout out to Abby. Shout out to Hanya. Shout out to... I don't think names are gonna fit anymore. Let me go on to the next page. Shout out to these people. On to the next page. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Thank you so much for being here. Shout out to Camila. Shout out to Amelia. Shout out to Louisa. Happy birthday. Also, thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Matilda. Shout out to Ava. Shout out to Ali. Shout out to Betania. Shout out to Faith. Shout out to No. Or No, sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Ruby. Shout out to Samuel. Shout out to Hassan. Shout out to Ryla or Rayla. Shout out to Zohan. Shout out to Maddie. Shout out to Izzy. Shout out to Arthur. Shout out to Adele. Shout out to Violet. Shout out to Santi. Shout out to Ronnie. Shout out to Elodie. Or Elodie, sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Shams. Shout out to Katie. Shout out to Sahil. Shout out to Brooke. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Larry. Shout out to Clara. Shout out to Rose. Shout out to Haley. Whoops. I'm gonna write your name again because I messed up right there. Shout out to Haley. There we go. Shout out to Adeline. Shout out to Anna. Shout out to Saba. Shout out to Camden. Shout out to Hina. Shout out to Penny. Shout out to Irfan. Shout out to Darcy. Shout out to Micah or Mika. Shout out to Sophie. Shout out to William. Shout out to Kinda. Shout out to Nor. Shout out to Diana. Shout out to Mallory. Shout out to Linda. Shout out to Ray. Shout out to Darren. Shout out to Haley. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Heiza. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Sayana. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Landon. Shout out to Mila. Shout out to Gilberto. Whoops, I forgot the L. Gilberto. Shout out to Hawa. I'm gonna write Gilberto again because I kind of messed up. Shout out to Melanie. Shout out to our Pete. Shout out to Melanie. Shout out to Rita. Shout out to Isa. Shout out to Ella. Shout out to our Pete. Shout out to Noodle. Shout out to Colleen. Shout out to Henya. Sorry if I mispronounced her name. Shout out to Rumi. Shout out to Marshall. Shout out to Zoel. Shout out to Smudge. Shout out to Carmen. Shout out to Stella. Shout out to Chip. Shout out to Cam. Shout out to Cora. Shout out to Ava. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Thank you so much for being here. Shout out to Toshu. Shout out to Madeline. Shout out to Gabby. Shout out to Daniel. Shout out to Cambry. Shout out to Uriska. Shout out to Anna. Shout out to Lexi. Shout out to Trisha. Shout out to Yusuf. Shout out to Willow. Shout out to Johnny. Shout out to Annalise. Shout out to Reagan. Shout out to Harper. Shout out to Tanisha. Shout out to Elena. Shout out to Cecily. Shout out to Dixie. Shout out to John. Shout out to Audrey. Shout out to Frosty. Shout out to Brinley. Shout out to Analia. Shout out to Sydney. Shout out to these people. Thank you so much for being here. I will see you all next time. Bye. Take care.